Ring, ring, ring. Hello, Simpson Virgins, and welcome back to Kron's Magic Internet Money Cave.
That's right. We're back on the moon right now, but maybe not for long, as we have been going over throughout the past week now that Bitcoin during this week, perhaps during this next couple week period, a little bit more angled towards the downside. So I want to be speaking about essentially where I am looking to potentially pick up some corns for perhaps a long-term move for Bitcoin, and more importantly, talk about the short and medium term here as the setups do continue to evolve and do continue to point in a highly probabilistic direction here. So first things first, let's talk about the Wednesday statistics. Wednesday is actually a very interesting day for Bitcoin. It is, just about a coin flip probability and whether it's likely to close positive or negatively. But for those positive closing Wednesdays, it is actually the highest positive return out of any day of the week at just over 265. Now, for those losing Wednesdays, which has been 48.5% almost, we have experienced an average loss of about 173. And as always, we're mostly interested in the ranges from this. And I do want to say the same thing as I have been saying for the past couple days. I'm kind of a little bit more biased towards the downside here, but in terms of numbers on these ranges, the downside, as far as those average returns would go, is pretty highly correlated actually with the bottom side of the range at just under 116,000 US dollars, and to the upside, which again I do think is a little bit less likely for today, but hey, statistics are statistics, would be at about 121,100. Basically, if Bitcoin even got back above what I would look at on Monday's high, I would think that not only is Bitcoin going to hit that upwards target, but exceed it and lead into an actual mega massive breakout. But here's the thing: while I am going to be speaking about continuation of the likelihood of downside price action and kind of where I'm looking to potentially pick up some corns, I do want to follow up on the hash rate indicator signal, because this one has fired off, and this is some more encouraging data. Let's say some encouraging data right here, suggesting that whatever pullback that we do get from this region is likely to be an opportunity. At least there's a higher probability of that. So yes, indeed, the daily time frame and the 5-day time frame has both confirmed this blue buy signal, which is very, very beautiful, very, very nice, very, very powerful, taking us to the tippy top. No, but if you're not familiar with this signal, or you haven't been on this channel for even a few months here now, because we cover this one quite frequently whenever it does happen. Basically, whenever the blue buy signal fires off on both the daily time frame and the 5-day time frame for the hash rate indicator, which is a fundamentally based indicator based off of miner profitability, we do look at a highly probable sort of setup here that Bitcoin is very likely to move generally to the upside. However, in the short term from that signal, it actually, in most cases, does have a nice deep retracement, or depending upon your disposition, it's a it's a relatively deep retracement. Anyways, again, that blue buy signal is not an immediate call to action. Many lost soldiers have been impaled with bearish dingas in their bungholes, by front running this signal. And of course, it is not a 100% probability type thing, but it does suggest that the last trending higher low in this, prior trend is going to be the low before Bitcoin ever closes below it, in most cases ever again. So if we go to the 5-day time frame here, which does have significantly less iterations, but does have much more powerful iterations, I do want to acknowledge that out of, let's count them out right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and this is number 19 iterations. 2 of those have failed in Bitcoin's history. If we go to the daily time frame, that number goes up a little bit, but we'll focus on the 5-day here just because, it does hold more precedence. Anyways, yes, and when I say fail, I mean you get something like you saw over here in 2020 in the Rona dump, where we did see the blue buy signal. The prior trending higher low to that signal was right here, of course, and Bitcoin did close below that in the March 2020 dump. So do be aware of that. It's not a 100% thing. Of course, it also did fail more or less in 2021, where the blue buy signal fired off over here. Bitcoin did rally up to massively new all-time highs. By the way, 64.5% new highs. And by the way, even this one over here did rally up more than 50% before inevitably failing. But yeah, this one did fail later on as Bitcoin did close below the last trending higher low, which would have been this low here from July of 2021. Anyways, just to give another example of how it can look, again, some evidence that it is indeed not an immediate call to action if you view it in such. I didn't fucking tell you that. Again, I'm not your dad. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you what the fuck to do, but I would tell you, if I'm looking at this, I sure as hell wouldn't be doing that, because in this example, which is actually a very common example, we do see the blue buy signal fire off actually right before a nice little dump-ola where was the prior trending higher low? Well, that would have been this low here from the 15th of June of 2023. Bitcoin gets very, very close to it, but does not close below it, most importantly. Thus, the condition continues to be valid. Same shit over here, and perhaps we get something similar over here as well. So this blue buy signal for the 5-day time frame, what is going to be the last trending higher low? Well, I mean, if you actually want to go by the book, it would be this June low here, earlier this year. I do think that the daily prior trending higher low is probably going to be fine in this case. That's going to be 105. So that does mean that Bitcoin come all the way back down to, around 105. I'm not saying it's going to come down all the way down there, but it definitely can. And that would be, still within the data set and would still be a valid setup. So again, that's a big range. That's more than $10,000 from where Bitcoin's trading at right now. And naturally, it's going to take some time. As you can see, almost all of these blue buys, took about a month to really get going anyway. So this is not, there's no rush is what I'm trying to say. There's no fucking rush. Hold on to your horses. Just relax, sit back, let your altcoins go to zero, and then watch Bitcoin go down a little bit. And then if you want to pick some up, I don't know, pick some up. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing with you what I'd be thinking in these situations. So yeah, that's that. Again, that would be the opportunity basically anywhere between where Bitcoin is at right now and all the way down to potentially 105 is fair game here. Below 105, things start to look a lot more hairy in a bad way, I would say. Anyways, to kind of round out the short-term downside bias and why I definitely don't think it's over in the short term just yet. We are about to see a setup over here fire off. This is a 12-hour time frame. And again, if you've been on this channel for even like the past few months, you've seen several of these happen. And it is a very, 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 very simple setup here. We're going to be using the Quant Prime service to backtest this one. But what we're looking at is the interplay between the red moving average and the yellow moving average. When that red moving average crosses to the downside of the yellow moving average, we have a high probability move in a profitable way towards the green moving average. If we look at all of the iterations of this setup since this bull market began in 2023 January, we can see that out of 25 total iterations, 15 of those did work out in a profitable manner, getting down to that green moving average. Now, I would say that it's the real probability is probably a little bit higher because this is not really intended to be like a super powerful get rich setup or anything like this. It's more so for YouTube internet analysis to give a general bias on direction. For example, this one over here is going to be counted as a failure, even though, yeah, I mean, it did follow through to the downside. So I would say, hey, that one basically did what we were looking for, but this is just the best way that we can test it as of right now. And yeah, the green 55 EMA would be all the way down at 115,800. And again, that would be a minimum target. You can see in all of the most recent iterations, Bitcoin's actually overshot that by a decent amount. Obviously, this one over here is significantly further down. This one over here, well, yeah, actually down as well. This one over here, yep, just into a downtrend. This one over here goes definitely lower than that 55 as well. Same thing over here. Same thing over, actually this one did not. This one was actually perfectly timed, to be fair. And this one over here, this one over here, this one over here, you get the idea. Anyways, going back to our current timing, again, that would set in a bias towards at least another try towards the bottom side of the range at 115,800 or so. Just Bitcoin hold there or not, who the fuck knows? Doesn't really matter. What matters is the next sort of interplay on these ranges. So let me just reference my notes here. And yeah, as far as that goes, we'll once again reference the price action pivots indicator. Again, if you're a newer trader, if you're just a newer person in general, I think that these are the best training wheels to kind of get an idea of how trend works and how local highs and local lows work. Anyways, I would pretty much 100% agree with what it's suggesting right here. Look, if you're looking at the range for Bitcoin, it would be Monday's high, this past Monday's high at 119,850 versus last Friday's low, which is about 115 or so. As long as Bitcoin's also in between there, it is still just range plays. There's no sort of major breakout nor breakdown to be speaking of. Obviously, if Bitcoin does trade and close on a higher term time frame above that Monday high, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to go up to 125, probably more over time. That's the big bad explosion. Probably leads into the final advance of this current run, if I had to guess. And if Bitcoin does violate the bottom side boundary of this, we're probably looking at anywhere between, I would say, 106 to 110. Now, we can make an implied move off of this. It's not going to be super exact, but gives us kind of a rough ballpark estimate. And yeah, to the downside, again, below last Friday's low, that would be just below 110 or so. Maybe you get a wick a little bit lower. Maybe it officially tests this white moving average here, which is the 200 simple on this time frame. But anywhere around there is fair game. You kind of expect it to be somewhere around that region on a closing basis. Again, if it initiates that violation of the bottom boundary. Now to the upside, again, 125 is going to be the next most obvious target here. I personally don't think that things would just necessarily stop there, but you might get a short-term consolidation before continuation. Something like this would make a lot of sense. So you can kind of see the trajectory on both sides. Again, I am biased towards the downside here. On top of everything that we've spoken about, we should also just be aware that all higher term time frame stochastic momentum is continuing to point to the downside direction. Or actually, hold on, wait a second. I'm getting a new report here. Daily time frame for Bitcoin will actually flip back up today above 117 if it can finish the day above there. It's right now trading about $1,000 above that pivot, so we shall see. But right now looking okay. I should acknowledge though that CME is a completely different look. It is nosediving here, and this makes me think that the daily time frame will not hold true. So we'll actually continue with this because CME signals are generally just higher probability in general. 2-day time frame is going to continue to the downside here. Today upon closure, assuming Bitcoin finishes the day below 120 on CME, right now trading $1,500 below that number. 3-day time frame is also going to be having a nice fresh downside twist, closing tonight as long as Bitcoin's below 122,400. Again, losing the critical zone here, it looks like. 5-day time frame is also going to be turning down. This would be tomorrow. Obviously, spot has already turned down. 120 is a pivot here. 10-day time frame is very close to turning down. Still up though, however, at 116, 150. Weekly time frame closing on Friday for CME is going to be 118, 670 pivot, which is actually a little bit below right now. That'd be its first turn down in quite some time. The bi-weekly time frame also closing at the end of this week is going to be crossing to the downside freshly in the critical zone where, a lot of these rallies have been arrested. If Bitcoin finishes the week out below 118, 150, right now on CME, it is trading above that number, but we got another 2.5 days left to go. And the 3-week time frame is actually going to continue up here, but also, around those prior major highs. So I'm a little bit on edge here personally. I do think that this area could very easily provide a nice flash pullback in kind of like a more ideal case, perhaps down to like 110, let's say, give or take a little bit from that number, and then hopefully reaccumulates for the Bulaw's sake, and then we get that move up, north of 120. If you see something like that, yeah, this market just continues to do what it's been doing throughout this current cycle, which is, big move up, consolidate for a long time, big move up, consolidate for a long time, big move up, consolidate for a long time. Maybe that is your golden bull market, perhaps, but yeah, it's, I think it's going to be tested once again here. So, what I'm trying to say is that if you're bullish, I do think that this is going to take some time to really resolve itself. If you're bearish, well, you already fucking know, right? Anyways, in the short term, I really do think that we have a resolution of this move probably before the end of this week, at least the beginning of it, meaning that a resolution above like 120 or below about 116 is likely within that time frame. Daily volatility is extremely, extremely low right here. But yeah, if it does come down to 106 to 110ish region, to me, that would be, if I do want to invest in some coins, that would be kind of the area that I'd be looking for. I think that's a good place maybe leaving off on this video. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of best. Again, we're still visiting family. It's almost over now though. I'm actually really chomping at the bit to get back to like a real setup, but it's going to take me some time because once we actually move to our next destination, then I need to set up, the new computer and all of this good stuff. So yeah, it's might be some time here. It might be some time, but I will do my best to get everything in order. I'm still aiming to be like fully set up by the end of the first week of August. And I completely forgot to mention as well that, hey, if you are looking for access to the indicators, scripts, strategies, all these sort of things that we spoke about in this video, you can find it in the Teachable link in the description below. Quant Prime Service is what we use to backtest that 12-hour setup. Quantum wave bands we actually didn't speak about today. Caretaker's indicator suite has basically everything, and then the price action pivots are there below as well. So I'll be ending on that note. As always, take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.